Hey everyone, we're going to talk about the end of the Vietnam War today. So let's quickly recap how this war has progressed so far. So remember, this is a war about North Vietnam and South Vietnam. North Vietnam wants all of Vietnam to be a unified country and will try to attack the South after the French refused to allow them to have this unified country. So, the United States initially didn't want to get involved. President Eisenhower and Kennedy both had sent advisors over there to help train the South Vietnamese military to protect them from guerrilla attacks from communists called the Viet Cong in the South, but also from North Vietnamese troops as well. So they wanted the South to primarily fight this war. But that's all going to change when Johnson becomes president, and he uses the Gulf of Tonkin incident, that attack on U.S. ships by North Vietnamese vessels, as an excuse to escalate or intensify the war, where the United States will begin drafting troops, selecting them for service, where men 18 and older might randomly have to go come fight in the war, and hundreds of thousands of troops will be sent to this war, and it's going to be pretty long. Well, Johnson's going to refuse to run for re-election, and then Nixon is going to take his place. And Nixon, seeing how the war has progressed so far, will try to de-escalate this war with his plan that we call Vietnamization. So Nixon's Vietnamization plan is kind of like when we say the word Americanization. If we Americanize something, we make it more American. So if we Vietnamize something, we're making it more Vietnamese. So he wants to Vietnamize the war. Now, what that will do is gradually turn over the war to the South Vietnamese troops once again. So kind of going backwards, like Eisenhower and Kennedy, where they were just training the troops. So the U.S. will stay there and continue fighting, but as you see in this graph right here, over time, through 1969 to 1972, the amount of troops that are actually going to be fighting in Vietnam are going to go down significantly, because the United States is putting South Vietnam in charge of this war. So over time, the amount of troops will be reduced, as we've said already, and the goal is to eventually turn the entire war over to South Vietnam, and the U.S. will continue to provide weapons and air support. That is the goal. But like you might expect, since the U.S. had to join the war initially and start fighting to really keep it going, this plan isn't going to work too well. The North Vietnamese troops are going to be very successful, and the capital of South Vietnam, called Saigon, is going to fall not that long later. So here's what's happened. We're going a little speedy through this war. So President Nixon now is going to resign from the presidency shortly after he's reelected due to the Watergate scandal. And if you don't know what that is, we're going to talk about that in a later video. So stay tuned on that. So now his vice president, a man named Gerald Ford, is going to become the president. So now we've had so many presidents in this war: Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, and now Ford. It's a very long war. So at this point, they see that the war is not going well. The anti-war movement has been calling for troops to come home, for the U.S. to end this war. So the public support for this war is at an all-time low. And the U.S. troops are not fighting at this point, and there's less and less weapons being sent. Congress really doesn't want to keep funding this war. But Gerald Ford tries to keep it going, and it's not going well because there is no real support for this war anymore. And ultimately, the North Vietnamese are able to push into South Vietnam, surround the capital, again called Saigon, and at this point, the U.S. is going to evacuate everyone pretty much that they can. And this is an iconic photo from the Fall of Saigon, as the U.S. and the CIA are evacuating American citizens and members of the South Vietnamese government who were fearing for their lives. And they're literally going to bring them onto these carriers that the United States has off the shore of Vietnam. And there's so little room on this ship that they literally have to throw and push these helicopters into the ocean to make room for all the people that they're trying to evacuate after Saigon has fallen. So ultimately, the United States sought to fulfill its policy of containment to stop communism from spreading, and they very well could have done it, but there was not enough popular support for this war. The public did not support this war, so the US failed in its mission of containment. Militarily, they could have done it, but they did not have the support of the American people. Gerald Ford could not get support even in Congress to send more aid or troops to stop the fall of Saigon, to push them back once again. But this war seemed like it would never end. So the US essentially lost the Vietnam War. Now let's watch a quick video that kind of sums up this whole fall of Saigon.